Hello, gracefully chosen community, and welcome to Fostered My Stories, the achievement focused podcast for foster care, adoption, orphan, inclusive of underserved communities. I'm your host, Shalina Michelle Tate. On today's Recap Plus, I'm going to recap content and highlights for the month of March. So, Recap Plus presents a recap and highlights of topics covered on the podcast during the month. During random points in time, prizes may be awarded to listeners who can become the first to find and correctly submit answers to randomly asked questions from the content of the month. So, let's dive in. On the podcast, season 11, episode 41, you were introduced to couple Dusty and Dwayne Stark, a dynamic couple who spoke about their influences dealing with politics, clinical social work, and ministries. Please go check out their content. They have dynamic testimonies of their upbringing, their family as far as being foster parents, their passion projects as far as books. Dusty's book is currently in development. It's called Legacy of Love Fostering Children. You can check out the website extendinggraceconsulting.com for more details and stay connected. And that was your featured guest of March. That was season 11, episode 41, Dusty and Dwayne Stark. Next up, on season 11, episode 42, the Relate to You series of Foster My Stories, I shared three different content for you to dive into. So, the March movie was the 1995 edition of Babe, not Babe Ruth, but Babe the Piglet that can talk. Farmer Hoggett wins a runt piglet at a local fair, and Babe, as the piglet decides to call himself, befriends and learns about all the other animals on the farm. He becomes special friends with Fly, one of the sheepdogs. With her help and Farmer Hoggett's intuition, Babe embarks on a career in shepherding with some surprising and spectacular results. This movie is a 1995 oldie but goodie that you and your family can enjoy. Next up, the public figure of the month was Viola Davis. Her name may sound familiar because she is a dynamic award winning actress and she has a 10-year-old adopted daughter named Genesis Tenen, who is currently following in her footsteps. So, Viola Davis is known for movies like The Help, Fences, starring Denzel Washington, and the Suicide Squad franchise, where she is playing a tough agent using the squad to kind of do her bidding. Once again, the public figure of the month because she has adopted a daughter named Genesis Tenen, who's now 10, and who is following in her footsteps and was featured in Angry Birds 2. All right. And finally, the book of the month for the Relate to You series was Orphan Justice: How to Care for Orphans Beyond Adopting. This book was written by Johnny Carr, that's JONNYCARR, Amazon via Kindle for $8.49, or you could buy it via paperback for $5.20, and this is on Amazon. This book gives Christians a reminder about their call to kind of step in and step up as far as the orphan community. It investigates the orphan care and adoption movement in the U.S. today. It connects liberal issues together that are critical aspects of orphan care. It develops a tangible, sustainable action plan to use worldwide partnerships, and it offers practical steps to getting involved and making a difference. Once again, that book was called Orphan Justice: How to Care for Orphans Beyond Adopting, currently on Amazon for $8.49 on Kindle and $5.20 paperback. To recap the Relate to You of the month of March, the 1995 movie Babe was the movie of the month. Viola Davis was the public figure of the month because she's an adoptive parent of Genesis Tennant, who is following in her footsteps as far as acting. And the book of the month was Orphan Justice: How to Care for Orphans Beyond Adopting, currently on Amazon via both Kindle and paperback. And last but not least, you were introduced in season 11, episode 43, to community guest Karen Phillips, a local leader here in South Carolina who spoke about her admiration for her mother, compassion for serving homeless communities, and her commitment to bringing others to biblical truths. And once again, Karen Phillips was your community guest for the month of March. Her book, Accepting the Mark of the Beast: The Final Test of Man's Allegiance to God, is currently on Amazon.com via Kindle for $8.60 and paperback for $9.05. Once again, her book, Accepting the Mark of the Beast: The Final Test of Man's Allegiance to God, is currently on Kindle for $8.60 and paperback for $9.05. This book can also be found via Target, Scribby, and thrift book platforms. If you've enjoyed today's content, go check out the episodes for The Starks, Relate to You, and guest Karen Phillips. Please leave comments via the Fostered My Stories Facebook page in reference to any of the mentioned content today. The Starks, episode 41, the Relate to You content, episode 42, and Karen Phillips, episode 43. And if your upbringing, community service, or job connects you to the foster, adoption, orphan, or underserved communities, I would love to have you on the podcast. You can send a guest request over to info@fostermystory.com. That's Frank Mary Story with an I, not a Y.com. And stay connected because the full website is in development at Frank Mary Story with an I, not a Y.com. You can visit the Fostered My Stories Facebook page, is all spelled out without the Y, for posted episodes, dates, times, and content, and listen on any of the platforms convenient to you via Red Circle Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Audible, Amazon Music, Radio Public, or Google Podcasts. There you can catch missed episodes, reach out, share this content, or stay connected for updates. And please remember to tell that youth, friend, relative, or associate that being fostered, adopted, orphaned, or underserved simply means you're gracefully chosen. Have a dynamic week. Oh, and one more thing. What was the name of Dwayne Stark's book that's in development? Question of the month. What was the name of Dwayne Stark's book that's in development? The first person to find the answer to this question, which is in episode 41 of Foster My Story season 11, and submit that correct answer to the Foster My Stories Facebook page, will be contacted for a prize. Have a dynamic rest of your week.